There was an evening passenger train bound for the last station on the line, just before the valley where the viaduct was still being built. However, the engine scheduled for the train had broken down, and no one else was available. Except for Zero. There was much concern from many as Zero backed onto the coaches. The engine itself was determined. No matter the strain, it would ensure the train would reach the other end of the line. Once the guard's whistle had sounded, Zero huffed and puffed out of the station. Its cheeks were already red when the last coach left the platform, but it carried on regardless. The train wasn't going too slow, but for Zero it wasn't enough. He tried even harder, and eventually reached a more favourable pace. By that point, however, they were far behind schedule. Not far from the station, they approached a loop where a goods train sat waiting. The engine stared in disbelief at Zero and scowled at it. "Pathetic," it wheezed. "To think that you believe you could be worthy of a train like that. Do yourself a favour, weakling. Throw yourself off the line when you're done. We don't need engines like you." Now, no one is certain what happened next. Zero's driver said the regulator just stopped working, and they couldn't slow down. The goods engine claimed that when the insult was thrown, Zero looked furious, almost deranged. Whatever the reason, the train began going faster and faster. The engine's wheels blurred, and the coaches rattled violently. The last station came into view, but the train merely sped past, startling all who stood on the platform. Once they realised this, the guards slammed on the brakes in the van. The only result was loud screeching wheels, firing huge sparks in all directions. The driver and fireman fought for control, pressing hard on the regulator and brakes. All attempts were futile. Zero didn't slow. In fact, it seemed to be going even faster. It quickly sunk in where they were heading. They were now on a long stretch of line, and at the end, the valley. The valley came closer and closer. Workmen who were on a night shift ran to safety. The driver only saw one option. He grabbed a pole and thrusted it into the fireman's hands. "Quick, get out there and uncouple the train!" Any fear the fireman had was ignored, as he clambered out the cab and waddled on the running board. Holding onto the bunker, he reached down and tried to grab the chain with the pole. The swaying engine nearly had him lose his footing several times, and it seemed impossible to pull the chain. But he tried, over and over and over again. And then, "Got it!" he shouted as he lifted the chain off the hook. The coaches began trailing behind, and the crew leapt off the engine. As for Zero, well, no one knew what it was thinking. No one got a chance, as it left the rails and plunged into the gap.